G'day and welcome to Uneducated Entrepreneurs. I'm Peter.
My name's Dan. Today we've got a special guest, Nathan, the man, the myth, the legend. He's about to be hopping right
Fingers
on.
crossed.
Before he jumps on, if you click right here, you'll be able to see last week's episode. It was a nightmare. It took about 12 hours to upload. And I just realised I'm looking down at my screen, not the phone. So
yeah, Dan's got to learn about this whole streaming and services to the internet. He's
sorry for not having two screens. It's like I can't actually have my.
I'm not even looking at two screens. I've got two. I got a screen on this side and a screen on this side, and there's a camera in the middle that I stare at, which is at you guys.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey,
so you're just getting some. You're just getting some ad lib whilst we wait for Nathan to hop on.
Maybe stuff that we can add. Maybe I should do. Maybe you should take a crop of this video, and so I can do. Hey, I'm Peter. I'm from Uneducated Entrepreneurs, and the one we have to
go for it. The one that I said you to do like 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, I don't know what year.
This is actually episode 6, by the way.
Ah.
We've done this. This is our 6th episode.
Come on, guys. Yeah. We've got to get at least one subscriber out there.
You have one subscriber. It's me on my other account.
I should subscribe. I'm not even subscribed to our own account.
Yeah, I know. He's so for this account that he's not even subscribed.
My issue is I've got a lot going on, guys. So I do run a business, obviously, as you guys know. And I do.
I technically run like 2.
I do have it. Oh, how many staff have you got? Let's go turnover. Let's go revenue. Let's go profitability.
We can just. I was just trying to get on now. Easy.
Nathan.
Hey. Nathan's on. He got on. G'day.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you both?
Yeah, good. By the way, it's the older brother, not the younger one.
He's the older one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, what did you say? You said he looked like he was looking a bit rough or something, and I was like, yeah, he still looks pretty rough, to be honest.
That's all right. That's all good.
How are you doing?
Yeah, not bad, Nathan. It's been a long time. I think it's been 10 years. Probably.
Really?
It would be.
That long?
Yeah, because you were down in Farm 5 when we were doing futsal. I was up in 4. And we were in 5 for like 9 years.
Wow.
And then, we were in like Farm 4 before that. So for those that don't know, me and Nathan used to live on the same block of farm at one point and used to play football.
So this is this is the infamous Nathan who happened to get COVID every time we tried to do an interview with him, and then was sick and then had to move his house. He's just full of excuses. It lasted 2 weeks.
Yeah. Once. That's all right. These things happen.
You had to move though.
It's
yes, I do. I'm still moving.
Oh, that's right. But you're in a nice place now, aren't you?
I'll be heading off to work from here, and then one more night in out at Diagula, and then into the new house.
Yeah,
that's
nice.
Exciting.
There you go. So, welcome, Nathan. It's good to have you on, finally.
Thank you.
The man, the myth,
We've
the
talked
legend,
about you a couple of times in different podcasts, and then we're like, oh, well, actually, Nathan's still sick, so...
Yeah, I think we had you...
Should I be looking... Should I be looking at them before I...
Nah,
do this one?
That's all right. I mean, you can. Like, subscribe,
if you want to,
hit that bell, like the videos. We need all the help we can get. No, I think yeah. No, I think we had you penned in from about week 3 and we're on week 6 now. So we've talked about you the last 3 weeks.
I apologise.
Oh, it's not
your
your
fault. It has been
a
interesting 2 weeks.
So we've actually got
we've
got Nathan on, guys, because Nathan himself has a business and he's got a pretty incredible journey that he's gone through with businesses. He himself, I've chatted with Nathan a few times over the period about how he never planned on being a business owner in the very early days, and he's actually he's got a business called. Do you mind if I name it? Is that cool? We can put a link down to your to your website as well.
Yeah, we'll link it.
It's called Pledge Cleaning. Did I get that? Pledge Cleaning Solutions, or is it just Pledge Cleaning?
Pledge Cleaning Solutions.
So they do a whole range of different things from they do builders cleans and all of that sort of stuff. So you guys work in like from schools through to doing construction construction cleans and all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, large variety. Yeah, quite a large industry. We try and keep things as simple as possible, but yeah, there's always work in different little corners of the industry to try out. So, but final cleans and commercial cleans would be our main.
Yeah. Whereabouts? What sort of area are you guys in?
Well, we sort of have two offices. We have one in my house, which is currently unknown.
Easy.
But on the north side of Brisbane.
Nice.
And then also one over at Wellington Point. So we cover from Sunshine Coast down to probably Loganholme for general work, but we do travel a little bit when the
you
call's
come
there.
to Ipswich too. So these guys actually do cleaning for my business. So,
Yes.
And my business is in Red Bank Plains. So they come out to the Ipswich way as well, which is pretty cool. It's good. It's different having a remote workforce, isn't it? Like it's a whole different experience.
It's very different. I mean, I grew up working in a lot of factories and stuff, so it's very different. And you can't look over everyone's shoulder every second. You've got up to 15 staff going different directions at times. So, it's very. It's an interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, you'll be chuffed with me, Nathan. I'm drinking instant coffee.
I'm drinking brew coffee.
Likewise.
Am I allowed to do it?
Go for it.
Look, go for
Brew
it.
Testament, best coffee.
Brew Testament, great coffee.
Go see Jordan.
I made mine.
I didn't have time to go out and get myself a coffee today, so I was like, instant it is.
Yeah.
But
We're really pushing to get those coffee sponsors. Like I think we plugged Sarafas in our first one, and now Brew Testament. So,
well, if you're a business owner, coffee is a must. I don't think you can function without coffee. I think I don't know if I've met a business owner that doesn't drink like 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day.
If they say they're not, they're lying. It's not true. It's not possible.
They're on something else.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. Hey, Nathan, I want to get a bit about sort of how you got into being a business owner and just a bit about yourself and things like that. Can you tell us a bit about just your story in coming into the business world itself? Because you've told me that you didn't want a business initially and you never thought about being a business owner. How did that sort of all come about and things like that?
Yeah, I did a stay-at-home dad thing for 3 to 4 years, and during that period, tried to use it to work out what I wanted to do. And I worked with a few friends in different industries, and seeing people who had their own business, I must admit it didn't really appeal to me. Honestly, I worked with a close friend who would do 10, 12-hour days and then go home and do 3 hours paperwork. And he's like, you should get into this. And you're not selling it to me.
That doesn't look at all.
No. I won't go, long story short, trying to get back into the workforce. I got myself into a bit of a hole in terms of mentally, a lot of depression, trying to sort of get back out. And very fortunately, through my parents-in-law, got a job interview as a cleaner. And it was interesting because when he first called me, I was like, I don't want to do cleaning. And it was kind of like that cleaning's beneath me feel.
Yeah.
And I went home and spoke with my wife, and I realised that it just got to the point where I had to get a job regardless of what it was, and I had to get over myself. Put my ego aside and go. And I went for the interview, and it was a guy that I had met previously, and basically he gave me the job on the spot.
Yeah.
And what started was a 3-year job where I suppose I got back on my feet as a young man with a young family, and
How old were your kids at the time? Do you mind if I ask?
Oh, that's a good question. You got to give me some information earlier.
Sorry.
we were talking about
We were
this.
talking about this. We were like, oh man, we
oh,
were terrible at giving him any information about this thing coming up. We might have to get you back on again sometime.
Prepare for long pauses.
It's all right. You know what's good about the internet is this isn't live, so we can cut whatever you want out, and we can make the things shorter.
Good.
Yeah.
You know how you said 45 minutes.
I'm really good at editing.
I want to say.
I don't know if he can make you look prettier though, Nathan. So sorry about that. Dan said he's good at editing, but.
Hey, we've got 3 beards on here. That's a pretty good start.
I know.
That's awesome.
We are off to a cracking start.
I must admit, mine is not what it used to be, so I'm a little jealous, Dan. So
thanks. It's a year in the making.
I like it. We had 3 kids at the time. Yep. So my second son, Jack, he was, I would say, he wouldn't have been too old. So then I probably had like a 3 and a 4-year-old, I think, if I got the math correct. So we had 3 kids, and I needed a job. I needed to get back into the workforce. So it was a blessing. It ended up being an amazing 3 years. The couple that I worked for were a great couple, great bosses, very encouraging, gave me a lot of responsibility over my own job in different areas, and sought to teach me about management. They felt like they saw leadership in me, and felt like I could do more.
They weren't wrong though, because every time you've had a job in other places, I was chatting with you yesterday, I think it was. You said you've always gone into management within those different respective roles. So whether you're in retail or in factories, you'd always worked your way up to management anyway. So they saw a potential in you. I'm guessing, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I also said it comes down to if you have a good work ethic and a good attitude and actually care, you can apply yourself to most jobs that are out there.
Yeah.
And it's one thing I wouldn't say I'm an educated person.
That's good, because you're on uneducated entrepreneurs. So
that's
what we want.
I feel at home. No, I struggle. School was a struggle for me. And I have an apprenticeship, but that was a struggle to get through. But I did achieve it, and I actually hated doing it for the second half of it, but it was purely about actually finishing for me, and actually completing it. And I think I've had those qualities that were instilled in me through my upbringing and my family, and so I could get into good positions, but there was always something that I didn't allow me to go further. And I think I've shared with you, I don't, knowing what I know now, it's because I have leadership qualities, but I'm not necessarily the front person. That's not where my qualities lie, or I don't believe they lie anyway. So what was the question?
So after we'll get back into it's all good. We'll get back into the way you got the business. So after working 3 years for the cleaning company, they saw you in as a management or leadership role. Was it then?
So they started to encourage me and what I could do in the future, which was a big part of my journey anyway. I hadn't gone there with long-term goal in mind. So we looked at different things. We looked at property management, which was what their experience was in. And obviously I had 3 years doing the maintenance and cleaning in that facility, and I had learned a lot about the industry.
Yeah.
And then basically it evolved into looking at small business.
Mm.
I had reservations because I knew of my own insecurities. I also knew not being educated would, like, I knew nothing about business, and so there was a giant sort of red flag, I suppose, in front of me, and but they continued to encourage me. My wife and my both our sets of parents were very encouraging and supportive, and so we eventually went for it.
Okay.
And yeah, we found this little cleaning business, and we bought it.
Yeah.
There you
So
go.
it wasn't. I know. Oh, were you gonna have a question, Dan?
No, I was just gonna ask when he started in the business. So it was 3 years with the cleaning. Did you stay working with the original cleaning mob,
No,
or did you stop and then go straight into your
I
business?
stopped and went pretty much straight over to the business.
How did you build up the courage for that? Because that's huge. Like, even when I started my business, I worked
Yep.
for another company for 6 months before I was fully willing to take that step into it. Like, that's gonna take some balls. Like, that's especially when you were talking about how having to provide for a family. Like, what got you to that point of taking that step?
I think, I mean, I've always had an amazing support network around me. You know, growing up, my parents were always there. I've got a brother and sister, and then I have a wife who's incredibly supportive and encouraging. And
Incredibly educated.
yes, but
She's not allowed on this podcast.
and I have parents-in-law who have, treat me like a son,
Mm.
and have always encouraged me and supported me, and so having that sort of support network, and then going into an environment where I had a boss who showed 100% faith in me,
Mm.
it got me out of the hole that I was in and gave me that, I suppose, encouragement to have a go. And it was I would think it was a mixture of, I need to do something. This is an opportunity that I don't necessarily have to work retail or something. Like, how do I get to a next level? And I knew I had to do something to broaden my experience and just try something different.
Yeah.
And I think there were elements there that I could see my personality suiting, even though there are also plenty of elements where I was like, yeah, red flags.
What the hell
But
am I doing?
Yeah.
but I was encouraged to sort of take a bit of a leap,
Yeah.
and that I would have support, while getting used to business and how to do things, and yeah, so
That's cool.
There you go.
So I know you've gone through some pretty. Sorry, I've taken a lot of the questions here, Dan.
It's all good.
I'm personally
fine.
really interested in Nathan's journey, because, like, with the struggles of business, I know he's gone through a pretty intense time within his own business. Just the success story that he has of being able to even just keep the business afloat has been absolutely incredible. Because there was a bit of, I don't know if you want to talk about this. We can always edit this out if you want, Nathan. But a bit of, it's really up to you. A bit of,
Or just hit
just
pass.
say pass if you
Either or.
if you ever don't want to answer a question, or if you ever just
should have given. You got to make up a big sign that you can send to us, so we can
yeah.
It's like,
pass.
no.
bugger off. That's what.
Yeah.
So, like, I know you like. There was a bit of trouble initially in the buying of the business. Like, the business wasn't exactly what it seemed or something, and then, but even to the point where you were able to keep that. How long, like, able to keep it afloat, and like the story of that is something that I'm incredibly inspired by myself, because what you pushed through is a lot of what people wouldn't do. Like, it's your ability to be able to do what you had done without the education, without the understanding, and like, how did you? Do you want to tell us a bit about that story and how you actually got through some of those times?
Yeah, I will be a little vague in a few areas.
And that's completely fine.
Um, uh, long story short, the business that we bought wasn't what we thought it was.
Yeah.
And there's I suppose there are things we weren't told about, and then if I reflect on myself, there was due diligence I could have done better. So that was a learning experience.
Yeah.
Not knowing, not understanding enough about the books and how business works, and that was an area that I I wasn't good at. And
You grew very quickly in that area, though. I remember having a chat with you about this, and you were like, "Peter, I just had to learn." So I was calling up the ATO, and I was like, "What can I do?" And I was calling up these people, and I'm like, how do I get past this?" And like the steps that you physically took in order to make the company actually be able to stay afloat and even get ahead to where you guys are now, and the way you guys are as a company now, right? It was incredible for someone like me who's a lot younger within both age and in the business world. So
I mean, so when we took over, we decided to use their accounting program. It was already set up. The gentleman who was helping me had a bit more of an understanding, and we sought to learn it. I had a manager that came. When I bought the business, there was 9 staff and a manager, and the manager was able to teach me an awful lot as we went. But it was that extra stuff that a small business owner sort of has to deal with in terms of actually checking, the money day to day, week to week, month to month, putting your tax aside, putting your super aside, learning about things like Q leave that no one had ever told me. I'd never even
that stuff's a nightmare.
never even heard about it. It was a year into the business, and I got a call from Q leave saying, "Why haven't you paid your Q leave?" I said, "What is it?" And they said, "It's a portable long service leave." I said, "Oh, don't worry about it. I'll put money aside myself." They said, "You can't do it. You've got to pay it by law." I'm like, "Okay."
Wow.
So that sort of stuff. Like, there were many things I didn't know, and at the end of the day, I have to take responsibility for a lot of that. But what I did was, when it came to things like tax, what I wanted to do was go, well, I don't know, but as long as I'm making an effort to learn and being, I suppose, transparent with people like the ATO, then I knew I shouldn't get in trouble, long term. I had to be trying to do the right thing. So I spent many hours with the ATO on the phone trying to understand things, and
they were good, weren't they? Because I think that's an area where a lot of people, even myself, everyone gets a bit scared when it comes to the ATO, right? Or it's a bit like, because it's a daunting thing. They're the guys that can be like, "Hey, you owe us thousands and thousands of dollars, right? And give it to us now."
I've heard many bad stories, but I would say that 99% of my interactions were actually quite positive.
And do you know what? Though I reckon that's because of your attitude. That was your attitude towards them itself. Like, I know a lot of people that have had bad experience with ATO, but their attitude towards ATO was terrible.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day,
like a learning.
The people who work at the ATO don't make the rules.
Yes.
So,
they're just workers. I just work there.
I honesty and integrity are 2 things that are very important to me. And so in my whole journey, that was the 2 things I wanted to learn. The money was a big learning, and learning to send out invoices and that. So I just, everything that my manager would actually do, I would get her to teach me, and then I would do it. And until I felt like I learned it to a point where it had become habitual,
Mm.
then I could give it back. So we sort of had to juggle jobs for a while,
Yeah.
and it certainly took a bit of pressure off me learning the business. But in that, I also needed to broaden my experience in cleaning. I actually only
Yeah.
had 3 years cleaning,
Mm.
of commercial cleaning. So I was out cleaning regularly. I was out on every builder's clean, um, and I'd try and get to commercial cleans. And I was I am a big believer of being personable with your staff. So trying to actually spend time with them, you know,
Yeah.
um, and care for them as
I
human
guess
beings.
this is part of the business that a lot of people don't see, like is the nitty grittiness of it, and the fact that I've speak with a lot of people who want to get into business, and they're like, "Oh, I want it so that people can run the business, and I can just sit back and do nothing." Whereas you're actively getting involved with your staff and was actually going out to the builders cleans. Like, there's not many business owners that I know, or even people wanting to get into business, that are willing to actually get their hands dirty, for lack of a better terminology. They just sort of want to do upper level management without dipping their toes in. So that's something very admirable, that you're able to actually go, hey, I actually know what it's like to continue being a cleaner. And I was in there working alongside my cleaners and understanding the hardships and stuff that they go through sometimes.
Yeah. Would you say that you're still in that sort
No,
of excuse me, or like have
it
it
has
shifted
definitely
sort of thing?
shifted.
So you're not always
Yeah,
on
it's
the site
definitely
now.
shifted, but
Yeah.
you've probably skipped a lot there, Dan. So we might.
You've gone from like the beginning and the
That
end.
was my next question.
So that's the end of the
Yeah.
podcast.
No.
Okay, thanks,
I was
guys.
Catch you next week, guys.
No.
Yeah. Look, it's not for it wanting to understand things and learn was my goal. However, what ended up, and I agree with you, it is a good thing. However, it got to the point where I couldn't let go of certain things, and
Okay.
I was trying to do everything myself, because it was a bit like, I mean, I spent 3 years keeping a business afloat. You know, we never grew. We didn't necessarily go backwards, but it was just survival. It was purely survival. How I did that, I don't know. Like, I honesty and integrity is something I would put it down to, because I tried very hard to. My first day, so I'd walked in. So we had a two week handover period. So the previous owner was still there. So this was the very first day. In the first hour, and they got a phone call from a client who wished to terminate the contract with the company. And I thought, well, what the hell? I'm the owner. I may as well have a go. So I took the call. I knew nothing. I was literally, as I'm answering the phone, I was asking for any sort of information and file. You know, I literally knew nothing.
Yeah.
And anyway, I spoke to this gentleman, and basically what had happened is our staff had left their premises unlocked at the end of the shift. And it's premises that had a lot of very secure documents and stuff kept on the site. So it was a big mistake. And according to him, there had been absolutely no communication from our company, and no one had even been to the site to talk to anyone or anything like that. They had fired one staff and reprimanded a second, and that, I think, that was about the extent of it. So I listened to him. and I told him who I was, and I said, asked him if I could come and see him.
Nice.
Now, I didn't know a lot of
Yep.
that information at the time, so that sort of information came out later. I just
Yep.
said, "Oh, can I come and see you? Love to, listen to you." And anyway, he said yes. So off I went. I was as nervous as anything.
I bet.
So I grabbed the file. I find out like who they were. I started
Yep.
Googling the company, things like that. Just things that a lot of people have. I've heard stories of people and I was just trying to
Yep.
put everything into practice. And went on, and I just listened to him. And then when he finished talking, I said, "Well, I'm very sorry that my company has let you down like this. Is there anything I can do?" And he looked at me and said, "Well," he said, "no one has ever apologized to me before." And he said, "The fact that you apologized to me and came and saw me face to face," he said,
Yeah.
"I'm going to give you a second chance."
No, that's good.
That's incredible.
And
First day on the job.
so we had to make some personnel changes, and there was a few other things we had to do. And I drove back to the office, and I walked in, and the previous owner and the manager were sitting there, and they walked in, and I said, "Oh, well, they're obviously gone." And I said, "Well, no, actually, they've given us a second chance." And both of their jaws hit the floor.
Yeah, nice.
And they couldn't believe it.
And guys, that is where we are going to leave it for this week. If you enjoyed that, make sure you tune in next week for the second part of our interview with Nathan. It's been a bit hectic for the last couple of weeks, so we hope you enjoyed it so far. Make sure you like, subscribe, and stay tuned for part 2.